repairing the gauge, one of the gauges. This is the fuel and the amp gauge. So that's the fuel gauge. I already tested it, so I know it works. I built a new backing plate, isolator plate, whatever it's called, this deal here. So I rebuilt that with some gasket paper. And then the amp meter is there. Haven't tested it yet. Cleaning all the parts up. This is just like a little dust seal. So I'm going to make that out of some gasket paper. This is the housing. Normally it's painted kind of a greenish white, or like a off-white. I'm going to media blast it because right in this, let's see, right in here, this hole here is where the light bulb shines behind everything. So the inside needs to be white. And this piece has to be black, where the glass sits and kind of seals against it. Thankfully, the numbers on here are, I'll turn it around, but still really good condition, so we'll be good there. There's a little seal that goes in here, so I'm going to media blast this and I'll paint the inside black because I think that needs to be black for the backing so you can see everything clearly. So I will media blast those, and then there's a little tiny cork gasket that goes in this channel. I think that just seals up against the glass so that you don't get dust and debris in there, so it keeps the glass nice and clean inside. So gauge restoration here is pretty cool. So I'm gonna try to remake this part with gasket paper. The cork seal I'm probably gonna make with some of this window weather seal, unless I go down to the crafts store and just get some cork, rolled up cork. So we'll see what happens there, but I'm going to get this all cleaned up. And then this bezel here, this is, I believe, what pokes through the dash. So I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to paint it green so that it's nice and pretty looking when it sticks through the dash. I believe it's just that rim there, but I'll just paint the whole front face of this thing green, and then that way no matter what shows through the dash, it'll still be green. So I'm not going to show any more of the repair process on the gauge or the restoration process on the gauge. I'll just show the gauge when it's finished. There's the gauge all restored. Try to get that reflection off there. So it looks pretty good. I got the glass super clean. I tested the fuel gauge. Fuel gauge works. It's very, very slow, so hopefully it'll be okay. But if I have to replace it, I will. It's all cleaned up. Everything's clean. I painted the bezel, and then everything's cleaned up on the back side, ready to go for connections, and looks good. The ammeter I have not been able to test yet, but if it doesn't work, I'll just have to replace it. So, but looks good. All right, there's the speedometer. I got to clean the glass up still, but I painted the bezel, and I had this speedometer rebuilt from a guy locally here, and it looks beautiful now. It works great. It's all brand new inside, internals and everything. So I had him set the odometer back to 0 pretty much. It's got like 3 miles on it because he was spinning to test it, but yeah, looking really good. So that's the speedometer. Now the oil pressure and engine temp gauge here. We're going to see what happens with this one. I still have to restore it. Well, maybe restore it, but I'm going to try to fix it. But this is the thermocoupler tube, or the whatever it's called, the temperature probe tube, had broken off, had been broken. So I don't know if it's repairable. We're going to find out. I'm going to try to, let's see if I can find I've got a thermocoupler that I picked up. I'm going to cut this little piece of, a little chunk of copper tubing off of that and try to solder, basically make a joint and solder it to this new probe tube that I've got, that I picked up from the auto parts place. So we'll see if it works. I don't know if it's going to, but we will see. Like, I've been successful with this gauge. So I've got a new tube soldered to it. These are full of ether. So that's kind of what presses, pushes the gauge to move. And so I had to take a tiny little tube, like I showed in a previous video, and basically couple it here. So I soldered it on, and so I took it in the house, put it in some boiling water, and the gauge worked. So amazingly enough, I got it. And there's the cleaned up, restored gauge. So now I'm going to go put it in the truck.